Hello and welcome to Fire in the Belly. Today we have a boardroom talk. It's number 3 in this little episode, and myself, Mighty Pete, and Heather is putting me in the hot seat again. So Heather Lundy, good afternoon. Good morning, I should say.
Good morning, Pete. How are you doing?
Doing awesome. Thank you so much for coming on again and for putting me through my paces.
Thank you so much for having me. Honestly, I enjoy it.
Great to have a chat and to put the world to rights, or whatever that is. So
yeah, we'll see how it unfolds.
Absolutely. So where do you want to go?
Well, I have a question, pre-prepared one this morning that I want to ask you, Pete. And my question is, when was the last time someone gave you the opportunity to talk without judgment in a safe space in a positive way?
My immediate reaction is never, and I don't think that's uncommon. Mm-hmm. I've been given safe spaces in a number of different areas. In that particular format, though, I don't think it ever was.
What do you mean by that, in that particular format?
So, as we talked previously, I mean, you can have a conversation with a friend over a period of time. Is it a safe space? Yes. Is it a non-judgmental space? Maybe. And that's not a reflection on your friend or whoever you're speaking to. It's simply that our family who's around us have preconceived ideas of who we were as a child or what we did previously. So they have knowledge of your past. So it's very hard for them to be neutral, as in, maybe that you've done something before. So you will be, slightly premeditated. So if you were naturally a gifted writer, so they will say, well, it's fine for you because you can just write. Okay. Well, it's a positive judgment, in terms of that they're aware of your past history. That doesn't necessarily tell you how you actually feel about it. So it may well be that saying, and it's a bit like what we're talking about with the ikigai process, the Japanese, in terms of you can be good at it, but it doesn't mean your passion is attached to it. So it doesn't mean your energy flows there. So just because, everyone says, well, Heather, you're amazing at X, Y, and Z. And you kind of go, yeah, I am, but actually,
lovely.
Yeah. Well, I said, yeah, but I want to be doing something else. Yeah. Now, whether you do, maybe it's, there could be 50 things. It could be that actually you're happy doing the things that you're good at. It could be blockage, could be all sorts. But so when you're having that, what I would call that safe space in a very positive, non-judgmental environment is simply going, just let them talk, that it's not a feedback environment as such, in terms of I almost don't need the response. I just need to go into this space in terms of a positive. So if you're with a friend or family, whoever else it is, sometimes there can be negative talk. It can be, again, you're bringing in people that have preconceived ideas, or such and such did this and all the rest. So that there's a temptation there to potentially endorse negative energy. Not, maybe consciously, maybe unconsciously, whatever. So again, there's a whole different environment. So by suspending the conversation in this positive space, you put a microphone on, you put a set of earphones on, whatever. So you're saying this, we've got to be cautious in terms of how this reflected and picked up by somebody in the outside world. So straight away, it needs to be a neutral conversation. So we can't bring other people's into the conversation without, unless we're sort of happy to do that in a positive way. Yeah. Somebody who's just letting you vent as you choose without judgment and saying, well, okay, I know that, but you'll be okay, or listen, you'll get over it soon enough, and that's a prejudgment, saying, well, you've now defined that I should get over it. You've now also defined that actually there's a time limit on this and all the rest. So best will in the world, it's not necessarily a sort of a non-charged environment. Ideally you just want to go, well, it's kind of like the therapist's couch in some ways, but in a more positive way, and saying, I'm not going to let you go on a people bashing exercise, and even dwell in the past too much. We want to hold you in this space. It's a wee bit flattering for the ego too, and says, well, listen, we're here to learn about your insights. So straight away we've actually guided the discussion in saying it needs to be positive. It needs to be constructive so that other people outside can maybe understand it. So you are explaining yourself. You're putting it out there so that other people can hear it and then potentially judge you. But that's, you've got to put it out there and say, I'm willing and able for that to happen. And then just feeling there naturally, if that's done over an extended period of time, you know, and I say to anyone, I think I mentioned it last time, in terms of the interview process, the first 20 minutes, half hour typically is people talking constantly. I'm saying what, it's almost like a premeditated script in my head. You know, this is what I
Filter.
normally say. This is my style. Exactly. You know, so it's there. But then after that, you go into the sort of the mid-conscious, if you like. You know, that's the little bit in between where you kind of relaxing a bit and you take a glass of water and you just sit back a bit and go, no, that's okay. And I'm actually quite enjoying this sort of chance to stretch my mental wings a bit.
Yeah.
And then after that, you sort of go, well, this is cool. I'm actually enjoying this ability to stretch the legs here and get going. And when you get into that space again, and when it's held at that level, that it's got to be constructive. You know, it's positive, it's constructive, it's done in the right manner. There is a chance that, you know, people are going to be listening, so you want to provide a lot of quality content too for that, and it just suspends the conversation in a beautiful state. And people go, listen, we're here, and the conversation is here until, you know, you're ready for it to end, and it does. The conversations do come to a natural end, and that's okay, you know. And
Yeah.
for some it's 60 minutes, for some it's 3 hours, and whatever is right for the person. You know, and it's like changing gears, and you can almost, in any sort of interview or discussion with somebody in that sort of context, you can spot the phases, you know, and the tone. You know, the person actually sits back in the chair, the tone drops. You know, if they're a fast speaker, then it tends to slow down and suddenly they become very methodical, almost because they're just, it's not even hitting the sides. The conversation's coming straight from the subconscious, you know, and it's
Yeah.
kind of going, oh, that's interesting what I just said, you know, where you actually sit
I-
back with a bag of popcorn and going, I quite like what I'm saying, you know.
You're enjoying listening to it.
It's like it is a kind of semi out of body experience, or it's like, you know, I suppose to help people understand, it's like going to the cinema and watching yourself and going, oh, okay, so it's a slightly out of body kind of going, all right, I said that, why would I say that? And that gives you the ability also to separate yourself from your conscious and also your ego. So why you say and do what you do.
Yeah.
You know, there's the likes of the chimp paradox of Steve Peters,
Yeah.
which I personally, it makes a lot of sense to me. So in
Me
my head,
too.
I'm almost going, you know, here's this conscious, this ego. And he's a nice enough chimp, like, you know, he has his moments, and
Your
that's
one is.
okay. Yeah.
It's a brilliant book.
So
Yeah.
it's great. And actually, I'd one of my mentoring clients, they actually sent me a painting, and it's in the other room, but it's a chimp in, like, with lipstick on and in a bikini. So it's kind of going, if you're going to have this chimp running around your head, well, at least dress it up, because
Yeah.
suddenly your ego is a bit where, you know, you get flashes of anger and you can think of a chimp rattling a cage, and, you know, you can imagine that. So if you separate it and saying, I'm angry, and saying, okay, no, hold on, my chimp is angry. So straight away we've disassociated, which is great. So then you kind of going, okay, I can step back from my chimp. Now, the chimp is all part of it. It's all coming out of the same, you know, the same communication method, but in your own head, and saying, okay, that's interesting. Why is my chimp so angry? Why is part of me so angry at this? Or why have I reacted so heavily?
Yeah.
So that disassociation straight away is very clever in that you can do that. So whenever in the likes of hypnosis or NLP or any of these different languages, then is you will then try and change its state. So if you go, that's okay, I accept that I have a chimp, and you need a chimp because your chimp will also keep you safe.
Yes. Protect.
So it's not a case of going, right, you know, to have a, what is it, is it a lumpectomy?
Lobotomy.
Lobotomy,
A
that's it, sir.
lobotomy. Yeah. Just suck the chimp out
Yeah,
and you go. No, wouldn't
chimp's
work.
gone.
Yeah.
You know, you do need the chimp, but, you know, as a potential practice, you're saying, well, okay, if you're gonna have a chimp running around in your head and you're together for life, you know, you and the chimp, it's all one. Well, make it look pretty, make it look smart, or like make it look funny, you know. So here comes my chimp, and, you know, I'm thinking here with a really badly applied makeup, you know, and what was the old film? It was Clint Eastwood, and he used to run around with an ape in the car. What was that? I can't even remember now.
Oh
But
yeah.
what's the name of it? I can't
Oh, I
remember.
love that one. That would have been when we were wee.
So,
Sorry. I don't need to look it up right now. See, that's what I do. I'm just like down to know
no,
straight away. It'll come back.
it will come back, and that's. But isn't it amazing? So if you think of your chimp like that, it's kind of going, generally 9 times out of 10 relaxed. It's there. It's, you know, it's like It's like a dog. It's like anything else. It's super loyal to you. You know, it's part of you. You also need to remember that because it knows your internal languages, it knows your values, it knows everything else, it knows how to push your buttons. You know, so when you react to something, and I'll know, you know, whether you're reacting externally or reacting internally. So, you know, as we, you know, recent conversation there, we were talking about communication and connection is, well, connection goes both ways. So if you've disassociated with your ape, you say, right, well, your ape is now shouting back at you. Now, there's maybe not a word coming out of your mouth, but inside you're talking to anyone, you're saying, you know, talk to me about your inner dialogue, and your chimp is rattling the cage and you're this, you're that. And believe me, it knows the words, and it can be the most foul language you've ever heard. It could be the simplest thing, as I mentioned before. It's like, you know, the word disappointment. I'm really disappointed. You know, so it doesn't have to be an angry state. It can just be something that can cut you. Because it's your ape and your chimp, and it knows all your memories and your beliefs and all the rest, it knows that actually that was the word that was potentially used by a teacher or a parent or something, and that has so much meaning. So is it any wonder you react? You don't think back and going, okay, that's an interesting reaction. You know, the logical thing when you look at it externally is going, right, okay, so I've got chimp up here, is excited, the same, no different to a toddler, you know, a young child or something else who's lying on the floor screaming and kicking. You know, and the first thing is, are they in pain? No. Is the leg falling off? No. Okay. And then you work it back. So then, you know, I suppose.
But you do often feel it physically, don't you? Like whenever you go to react, you know, you're trying to stop. But I know a lot of people, myself included, I would feel it almost physically.
Absolutely. And you get almost like a white, you know, it's you know, people talk about the mist coming down, you know, because, and that mist is the inability to logically look at it, you know. So if you can, and it's easier said, you know, and this is any reason why people say, you know, take a step back, you know. So it's almost the statement in itself is saying step back from the actual environment. You know, don't fire off an email or text in haste, you know. And you know, you've all these great expressions which we've known for a lifetime. You know, it's, you know, a stitch in time. There's all these wee things that, you know, after a while you sort of get to know, right, well, if I can disassociate from the part of me that is reacting to this, and then say, why has this actually got to me? You know, and it could be something that you feel someone has done to you, because typically we all believe we're perfect. Our chimp is slightly narrow focused and kind of going, I'm fine, what the hell is wrong with you? So, you know, it takes a lot more to reflect on yourself and saying, okay, maybe I'm being picked up wrong, maybe I'm not being clear, maybe they've just trodden and run straight across my value set, and they maybe don't realize that, maybe they do. But if you go with the concept of saying, and this is why almost providing a safe space is saying that this person is not trying to tramp across my value set. In fact, you know, if anyone's done that, I've done it to myself, because in that environment, it's a very biased conversation. It's, you know, and it's not even a conversation, it's more like a talk. So suddenly someone's kept you on the right lines, but it's allowed you to form your own thoughts. So it's a bit like taking your chimp out for a walk and having a chat. You know, there's no surprise that the best conversations happen in cars, or, you know, you're out for a walk and things like that. So it's the ability then that's actually, you know, go and have a chat with yourself, or just take time out, change your environment, change what's going on, and suddenly changing in state. And then that actually then allows sort of just to think about it more logically, and actually, you know, pace it out there. But also then you're in a very open environment, you know, physically open, in a sort of a green environment. So, you know, if you're connecting to Earth and universe, if that's your thing, you know, going through all that. So
being
then
out in nature,
you know, and it's different. We all, you know, caged animals. So you take your animal out, you take yourself out, go for a walk, and, you know, stretch the legs, all the usual terms that go with, you know. And it's kind of going, right, well, if you keep your animal caged up and, you know, in an angry state, well, you can tell where that's going to go. So
pacing.
Yeah, it is pacing. And there's all these wee things that we see, and you can see why it's going to get frustrated, you know, and it's kept in captivity and it's not allowed to stretch. But same way you might go at one point, you know, and I sort of thought, and even thinking now, it's kind of going, if you had almost like a creativity, you know, so you might have a chimp or you know, a chimp tribe. And so I would almost see my creative chimp as almost like a white chimp, and very unusual in that it's white, but it's super creative and does its thing, and again, by disassociation, it's easier to, when saying, well, what do I want to be creative about? When you disassociate to it and you say, well, there's my chimp, and it's kind of almost marveling at ourselves and going, that's quite interesting. I wonder what else the chimp could do, because, we are so much better. There was a statistical study that was done, and I'd love to find it again, in terms of there's more chance in terms of an antibiotic treatment. There's more chance of your dog completing it than they have of the person. Okay, because people are great at administering onto their animal. They'll make sure that the animal gets its 2-week course of whatever it is. Whereas themselves, they will stop. They will, they don't
start to feel better. They forget.
Thing, life's busy, blah 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 blah. But isn't it funny how we want better things for other people than we do for ourselves? And it's kind of, in some ways, it's sad. But again, it's the disassociated state. Was saying, well, as long as they're happy, okay. So it's kind of going, well, I've just tramped across my own values and feelings, and told my own chimp that we kind of don't matter as long as everyone else is okay, and then you start getting to the state of saying, well, you hear people saying, well, I'm a pleaser, I'm
making excuses, making it okay for themselves.
Yeah, and because the chimp sort of goes, listen, I'm kind of feeling a bit hurt right now. And it's kind of going, yeah, but look at how much fun that other people are having, and look at how much value you've added to them. And you kind of go, well, to coin an expression from Alan Wallace, is saying, well, you can't take likes to the bank, and it's a bit like going, yeah, thank you for the compliment. And in some way that does make me feel better, but at the root cause, that has not communicated my message, that hasn't communicated my values. It may or may not be aligned. I'm glad you feel wonderful, but actually, we still feel how we feel here. Yes, I feel a little bit better because I have that. So I'm always a little bit cautious when people sort of say, whether it be your kids or whether yourselves, going, my job is to help other people. Okay, that's fine to a point, and saying, well, what's on your bucket list? And they're going, right, well, I want to skydive out of a plane and, stroke a tiger in Kathmandu.
Yeah. Whatever it is.
But how often is it, in that same list is not a case of going, I want to stay here and help people. So you kind of, in some ways, you're sort of saying, when the bucket list, and this is the beauty of the bucket list in itself, because people are sort of saying, well, I don't believe in it and it's too loose, and there is a connection to death. It doesn't have to be, because your bucket list can be your 5 years.
Anytime. Yeah, anytime.
But like a good conversation, it just seems to mentally bypass the chimp. Because the chimp going, well, it's a bucket list anyway, so it's kind of long finger and we're just dreaming and having fun. Okay. Whereas you say, right, let's do your 12-month goals. Your chimp is sitting at the desk going, right, okay, just you try and bring up something here, and I'm going to find 50 reasons why we may have a problem with this. Whereas bucket list, you kind of go, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, quite like to jump out of a plane and tickle a tiger and massage an octopus. I don't know, whatever. Suddenly, do you know what I mean? It's free thought.
Yeah.
The chimp's kind of going, that's a bit weird, but okay, whatever. It's your bucket list.
And how do you get, whenever you're really getting people in, because it's so important, so often people don't know that, as you say, they're really putting their focus on others. So how would you kind of bring them back? How do you get them to talk through that so that they themselves get it? Because even when you're saying there, you're seeing it in people, but how do you support them in your coaching and working with them to actually take the time to sit and talk that out so that they get it for themselves?
There's a number of things really, and a lot of this in my mind is actually chimp management, because we've had a lifetime, and I sometimes have a problem when people sort of say, set your goals, do this, you just need to start, you just need to do this. And there is an element of that. And I'm not saying, action, it is all about action. I've always said, fundamentally, we've got to go not backwards, but we've got to make sure the foundation is solid. Okay. So if you just start saying, right, let's get a 30-day plan for you and all the rest, and you kind of going, hold on, what do you want? Before you do that, before you kind of going, I feel like I'm not achieving enough and I want to do more. And listen, if you go flat to the mat for 30 days, you're going to be pumping iron, you're going to feel great. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Who knows?
Yeah.
But on day 31 and day 32 and day 33, when that sort of focus on that goal and our chimp that had this sort of target to hit and press the button and all the rest, it's kind of going, is it going to keep going? It's sort of going, well, the target's gone, the incentive is gone. Is there natural momentum built up? Whereas if you can look backwards a bit, and our language tells us so much in terms of what we love, what we have to do, what we need to do. If I need to do something, is because it's either being inflicted upon me, or else it's going to have an effect on my life if I don't deal with it.
Yeah.
If I want to do something, that's great. It's as in that's it. I wouldn't say it's not the highest in terms of a desired state. It's like I want to drive a car. Okay, that's fine. It's an okay. It's kind of like a B-type goal, if you like. It's kind of, maybe a bit bigger, but not that. When people
but it's not maybe something you're going to move heaven and earth for. You're going to make sure,
It's when you then get to the stage going, do you know what, I'd love to work with kids, or I'd love to write a book. And you kind of go, ooh, that was a very strong language. By finding that, and again, if you put, and I get a lot of my clients to actually do the bucket list, formalize. Yeah.
Very good.
It's key, and I would recommend it to anyone. Say minimum should be minimum of 50 things on the list.
Minimum of 50.
Minimum of 50.
And would that be like? Give us an example. So would it like cover? Is it experiences, events? What sort of things?
Well, it's different for everyone, because, and this is a bit like trying to define success. I mean, you're going to have the crazy stuff. It's again, I'm back to chimp management, because if someone says, right, give me a 3-year goal. So I'm now sort of, you say to them, right, what do I think's possible? So I'm now attached my timelines in terms of what I've done, maybe, and what I think 12 months I could do X, Y, and Z, which you may say, God, seriously, you could do twice that, or I might go, I could only do half of that. And then I may be lying to myself and going, well, I think I did, but actually I can think of 10 times I didn't do that in the past. So by actually pushing it out there in terms of, onto the bucket list, you kind of go, well, listen, if money were no object and time were no object, and the limitations, I so say it's a bit like going in a car. If you got a green light all the way and you are fueled up and you're ready to go, where do you want to go?
Yeah.
And suddenly people go, God, I'd love to go and get an ice cream on the coast. Cool.
So what I'm hearing is it gives them maybe that freedom to think in a totally different way. It's
poetic license. It's in the writing terms, there's so many things are going. Listen, it's a blank page. Just for chits and kicks, basically. I normally call it. For giggles, just put it out there. And it's not because people go, okay, it's a silly process, where people talk about their bucket list, but they never formalize it. Well, as soon as you put it on the list, and then I say, right, well, prioritize it. Well, suddenly you might go, well, listen, I want to jump out of a plane. I want to do this, this, and this. And it can be very throwaway if you're not careful. It means different things to different people.
Of course it does. I
but
just can't. People throwing themselves out of planes.
So, by putting that out there, and you go, okay, that's cool. And then by then actually saying, and sitting back and listening to what you've said. So again, the power of listening to it. So saying, right, well, I've heard you want to jump out of a plane. Okay. So you kind of go, why? And you might go, well, do you know what? To me, that would be like the epitome of adrenaline junkie. Somebody else did it and they said it was great and all the rest. And, and then you're just checking the energy and how you would feel about that. So, how much do they know? Can they smell it? Can they feel it? Can they taste it? And, can they see themselves actually jumping out of a plane, and I would be in this location and this is how it would feel and all the rest. So suddenly you go, this is a really strong goal for you. Or vice versa. It might be that's an indication to them that something has been completed. So, it might go, God, if I had nothing else to do and the kids were away and I cleared my to-do list, then I would do something like, I've heard somebody else saying I would do, jump out of a plane. When you start to drill into it like a goal, you treat it like a goal. Well, suddenly they go, actually, do you know what? Yeah, I mean, what I want to do, yeah, kind of, maybe, not really,
Yeah.
So you kind of, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, because we're all different creatures, thank God, and they say, well, okay, let's nudge it down the list. And very quickly you start to actually build up, and again, prioritization of the list. Well, as soon as it's in writing, then suddenly the mind is actually then, the chimp is back engaged again and saying, right, okay, So if that's something I'd really love to do, and I'm using the right love language, I'm sort of love to do this, and I really want to do this, and things like that. Well, then you can kind of go, okay, so it might be that I'd love to get a new car. Okay, so again, it's love. So it might be this is a new thing for you, and then saying, right, well, what could be possible? Could you do it in 5 years? Well, I probably could, yeah, because I feel strongly about it and I want to. And okay, if we're doing it in 5 years, then how would you go about, and let's put some detail on it. So it might be that it's going to cost you £50 a month or 500 or £1,000 a month, whatever else. And suddenly you've managed to sneak all those bucket list goals.
Yeah.
There's all sort of, white space, blue sky thinking, whatever way you do it. You've managed to sneak them all back in under the chimp. And the chimp's actually bought in and saying, yeah, I can feel it. I can see it. And it's here. So suddenly you're going, how did you do that?
And what I'm hearing is you're really doing it through that safe space and letting people talk it out and see it.
Yeah.
Talk themselves into the vision of it.
Exactly. Because they can, if you're employing all the senses, so your taste, touch, smell, sight, I've missed one.
Taste, touch, hearing.
Yes.
So. The obvious one.
So it is. I mean, like a new car or something like that, you're saying if you think of a car, there's a certain one that you want. So straight away you might, visually put yourself in the steering wheel. And then so you might want to, people have talked about licking the steering wheel.
No way, have they?
But it is. I mean, it's
go to the dealer. Yeah. Whatever works, yeah.
Go to the dealer, and but that's the thing. If you can associate a taste to it, it is one of your senses. But you can see the cars, you can see it shimmering, in the sunlight. You can see yourself in there, so you can smell. I mean, straight away you get in.
New car smell. Oh.
New car smell, and everyone goes, "Oh, this new car smell," and you can feel the crunch of the leather on your back, and the door, the click of the door, and there might be the start of the engine and the lights and the dashboard doing this and all. So I mean, you're there, and your chimp is kind of going, cool, I'm driving this car, this is cool. And then you kind of go, right, well, no different to that block of marble when the artist says, well, what do you see? And the average person sees a block of marble. The artist says, no, I see, that's my sculpture. It just hasn't been revealed yet. No different to your goal. That's my car. My car is there. I just haven't got the keys yet. And but it's happening.
Yeah.
So you're crossing conscious, subconscious, things like that, but it's a beautiful way of bypassing it in a fun way, because we love to talk about our bucket list and, compare sort of crazy, wacky things, and, we're all different.
Yeah, well, it would really give you an insight into the people.
Absolutely.
Other people and yourself, as you say, all of these things and the talking, you really do learn so much.
When you start to see, you'll see common threads in that, that's sort of more the telltale. And it may be, maybe you want to help other people. It may be to give back. It may be a number of things. So again, I think giving back, helping others, etc., just needs to be sense checked. So back to the old statement of your voids are your values. Going, are you wanting to help other people because at one point in your life, or maybe now, you actually need help? You have a void, you've a gap there. So subconsciously, we look for something that we maybe need ourselves, or we look to help others. And it's the expression, the blind leading the blind, and counselors that need counsel. There's loads of sort of different examples out there. And it's not to say, 'cause sometimes it can be fine, and
talk to us about that a bit, because I think a lot of people, there's kind of a feeling sometimes when you're listening to people or even reading, that there's a goodness in giving and wanting to give to others, but I think what you're identifying is that there's a risk if you're in need, if you need to fill your own cup first, maybe people would talk about.
Absolutely.
What does it look like whenever people are ready to give or to do for others?
It's possibly, if you go the other way, and there's a great example, and I've forgotten which book it is, but they talk about it's either psycho-cybernetics or it's one of them, but they're talking about the concept of forgiving and forgetting.
Right.
Okay. Which forgiveness in itself it's a whole interesting concept. So forgiveness being that somebody potentially has crossed your values in some shape or form. Okay. So
something everyone will resonate with.
Yeah. And listen, it's for whatever reasons, and I'm not saying it's good or bad or whatever.
Not judgmentally.
Again, and things happen and blah, blah, blah. But the question, I suppose, more is, okay, you say, well, I forgive you. Okay. But if then you go, well, just remember I've forgiven you. You haven't forgot. And you kind of go, is forgiveness where you haven't forgotten, or you have, made it neutral? You sort of, someone, if you're lording it over somebody, so somebody you kind of going, well, you do remember I forgave you for that, don't you?
So you're almost wearing it.
You're almost wearing it as a badge of going, I'm a forgiver. I've forgiven you, and I've forgiven you, and I've forgiven you. Aren't I a great person? And don't you forget that I forgave you? Well, is that, has that been neutralized as an energy? Well, my argument would be that no, it hasn't. There's still a level of leverage going over that and saying, well, don't you ever forget that I forgave you for that now. And straight away you kind of go, oh God, okay, that's, we're not on a par. That's you positioning yourself in a different place to me, because you've forgiven, but you haven't forgotten.
And your body language there, even when you were talking, I imagine would mirror for the people, because you're not going to feel good if you're having to remember what somebody has done. And sometimes people do need to not forget things. I accept that, but it's really that forgiveness of, the neutralizing is such a good word, so that when you're in that space, because when you were talking about the person who's maybe been forgiven and they're retracting, and you were sitting like this, slowing it over. Yeah, it was very clear.
And it's so interesting, and there's so many case studies, and one I was listening to recently in terms of it was a version of a TED talk in terms of a young guy in America, and he had killed this lady's son. So obviously, as you can imagine, there's a lot there. Ultimately, she had not only forgiven him, but she had actually taken him on when he had gone through his jail sentence and brought him actually in and treated him as the son that she no longer had. I mean, that's a whole new level. And had forgiven him, so had neutralized the situation, saying that's what was happening at the time. So it's almost fundamentally going back to going, listen, I believe my chimp is a good person. I believe I am a good person. Fundamentally, deep down, we all want to be connected. We all want to be part of a tribe. We all want to sort of get on together. However, stuff can happen. Your values can get a bit twisted and warped on the way. It could be lack of something. It could be something else being forced onto you. It could be whatever. So to be able to forgive and to forget, is so. I mean, that's like whole next level stuff. We can forgive and sort of change the it's changing of the energy. It's like, have you truly forgotten? Or do you truly mean what you say? So back to your bucket list in terms of going, well, I want to jump out of a plane, and it's kind of, and it could even be metaphorical. He's saying, actually, I just want to be free. Okay, because their perception is jumping out of a plane is, one, it's a bit risk taking, but actually it's the approach, it's the freedom, it's the stretching, it's there's so much. It's like kind of almost thinking of themselves like a bird. It's free of all the situation. It's a point in their life, when they sort of jump out of the plane. So it's momentous in terms of it's you can't unjump out. Once you've gone out of the plane, you can't unjump.
No going back.
Yeah, it is no going back. So there's all these wee things which can be very significant to the brain, and so just draw a line under the sand and saying, well, that was then and this is now. So we compartmentalize, which can be good and bad.
Yeah, but a hugely important message, because there's great freedom, as you're saying, in being able to say that was then, this is now.
Yeah.
To be able to say, that's not where we're living. That's not what's happening in this moment.
If you close it off and say, well, that was a different chapter, but it's kind of, if you then sort of want to keep revisiting the chapter, you kind of go, well, hold on, there's still energy attached to that. It's like, well, that was before something happened. And what, I still think about that person, or that happened. And, and they keep revisiting, you kind of go, you've actually not let go. You're trying to replay that.
And I think that's a common process for a lot of people. It takes time. And
absolutely. It's a huge process for so many people in terms of, going through that. And again, because the chimp may be sort of almost in a bit of downtime, the chimp sort of almost pulls out the DVD player and says, right, well, hold on, let's just look at this situation.
Yeah.
And this is the amazing thing about, people saying, well, you can't, history's history. And well, it's not. We only have the now. History is a mental image. I mean, it's what's your version of history? Well, this and this happened. It's going, well, no, I was there and I saw this and this. And And actually that was a good thing, not a bad thing. And she was trying to help you, not hurt you. And, you know, and so we can potentially, you know, the chimp sitting watching the DVD and kind of going, this is what happened. And all it takes is somebody to go, are you sure that's right? You know, are you sure that person was doing the right thing, or this was meant to be, or maybe you were just in a bad mood and it was just perception. Well, all you need is a seed of doubt. And suddenly that stack of beliefs and everything else is going, well, actually, do you know what? Maybe this is not right. So you can change your history.
Okay.
So there's so much in there in terms of from that the power of being listened to. So it's the wording you use, because sometimes we just use words we don't even realize what we've said. You know, the unconscious has almost got out and sneaked out, and it's kind of it's there in front of you. You're using the words, but you don't even realize you're using it. It could be more obvious, and it could be that you're actually going, yes, I genuinely do want to jump out of a plane.
Yeah.
And that's cool. That would almost signify a place in your life. And it could be that I've always wanted to jump out of a plane, but then something happened that meant it didn't happen. So actually it means we can get closure on chapter 3, because that was where I was at that time. So, you know, there's significance to everything. So it's being able to sort of weave through that. That's why I like the bucket list principle. You know, I know some people say, well, don't wait till you're about to die to do your bucket list, and say, well, okay, it's, you know, if you're going to die tomorrow, would you suddenly have a bucket list? I think you probably would. You
I
know,
love it, to be honest. It is something, yes, I have things obviously that I want to do, but I've never consciously sat down and, yeah, I'm going to do that. Write a bucket
yeah,
list.
it's, and we sort of shoot the breeze and go, God, I'd love to do that, love to do this, love to do that. So it's there in front of us, and we talk about it, and we're encouraged by other people. And some of them you kind of go, that'd be so easy. And it might be, I want to sit down and have coffee and sit and stare at the sky. Okay.
Heaven.
Yeah, that could be done. That could be done tomorrow. And you kind of go, wow. It may be just that's again associated to a time when you were super busy, and that would have been top of your priority tree. So it might the simplest little tick off. It could be something crazy like jumping out of a plane, and you kind of going, okay, as a coach or a mentor, you know, how could you possibly book a skydive or take the next step? 10 seconds in Google will activate that goal. You
Yeah.
know, skydive, UK, Ireland, boom,
Yeah. Off you
phone
go.
number, pick up the
Moon
phone.
jumpers. There you go. Yeah.
So do you know what I mean? So it's like, and yet this is something our entire life we've carried around this love list. You know, this love list of, oh God, I'd love to do that, and oh God, I'd love it if we had more time to sit down together. Or do you know what I mean? And it actually it's activating your love list in terms of, you know, how you empower it, how you make it happen, how you do all that. And again, it's a wonderful sort of chimp bypass mechanism, you know, and because the chimp's kind of going, okay, I don't feel threatened by this, because it's kind of a wish list and it's a bit woolly.
Yeah.
However, when you then bring it in and kind of go, how do we get practical? Chimp is logical and says, okay, well, if I phone such and such, well, then suddenly that is on the agenda. That's suddenly gone committed to writing. Suddenly I can see it's possible. It's aligned with my values, so I don't get much conflict, or I can see why I'd be happy to close that part of my life. And like I say, you get chimp permission.
Yeah.
And you get that, and suddenly going, yeah, I want to do it. I want to jump out of a plane. Yeah, I'm busy. That's okay. We'll make it happen.
And as you're talking, I'm very aware that a lot of things, quite often when I want to do them, I'll kind of, like, for example, we were up in Donegal a few weeks ago and I really wanted to go paddleboarding, but I had to almost like got the kids all on board, so they wanted to go before I booked it instead of just booking it and going.
Yeah. Yeah,
Loved it. It was brilliant.
I mean, that's the thing. It's an amazing thing, you know. So one, that means something to you as well. You know, it's interesting there to get all the kids on board. You know, it's like, well, almost listening to yourself and saying, well, this is something I really want to do. And I would almost argue, when you listen to yourself and you find out why you want to do something, in the same way, you know, when you have an amazing goal, actually that potentially generates so much energy. And it is the power of
Totally.
connecting. So you connect to your bucket list. And it is the power of the connection actually where, and we were talking about this in a recent podcast, in terms of that connection generates energy. So you know, it's when two sources come together, whether it be resonance, whether it be two chemicals, you know, it's an exothermic reaction. It gives off energy. So like when 1 and 1 actually sort of equals 3, you know, so they escalate themselves. Well, when you align to a goal, and someone, somebody that's passionate about God knows what. I mean, paddleboarding is a great thing.
Yeah.
Well, actually, your desire and your attachment to that goal and what you wanted to do and bucket list maybe, suddenly that actually generates enough energy to, you start to encourage those people around you, and they sort of go, well, I don't really want to go, but you want to go, and that sort of
Right.
carries you forward, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a strong enough energy to sort of create a sort of a cloud force around you, and then ultimately the activity happens.
I love what you're saying there about energy. There is something so true in that connection when you connect, and you feel it the other way as well. I remember somebody who was saying about, if you have that really strong connection where your goals are aligned, as you're saying, like goals aligned, it's like almost 1 and 1 makes 11 rather than even the 3, because it can be so high energy.
Yeah.
It can also go the other way, and you get.
It can. I mean, it's you talk about magnets. There's so many things where I don't, I mean, like it's the great experiment you had. Was it Coca-Cola and Mentos?
Yeah.
It's a mass reaction. It's not like, I mean, you mix Coke and Pepsi. What happens? Well, pretty much nothing. I mean, it might taste a bit different. There's no foreseeable reaction. You chuck a couple of Mentos into the Coke, and it's a massive exothermic reaction. It doesn't maybe last that long. I mean, it's a big fountain, and for anyone that hasn't done it, I would do it in a closed, careful way. But you see that massive release of energy, because the two things have come together. No different to a connection when you potentially meet somebody, or you suddenly go, God, I'd love to do that. Or we're looking at our love list in terms of the bucket list, and God, I'd love to do that, and I'd love to. Suddenly we've bypassed, but that is generating so much energy. No different to people who, entrepreneurs that are passionate, and they're sort of going, I've never worked a day in my life, because they're actually giving off so much energy that it's just, it is that exothermic reaction, and everyone picks up on it and kind of going,
yeah, they're a joy to be around, aren't
yeah,
they? People like that, you come away feeling,
and you can't help but pick it up. It's, there's so much going on there, and it's really, the excitement is the positivity, it's everything else. And you just need to be sitting in close proximity and suddenly go, God, okay, I feel good. I like being around you, or, this makes me feel good, or, I'm suddenly, God, you've encouraged me. You've inspired me, all these words we kind of use all the time. And that's simply because we've almost taken on a little sort of touch of their energy as well. And it's inspired us to go in. And hence why a lot of people say, it's very hard to be depressed and smiling at the same time, and it's, if you've taken on energy, you're excited about something, you kind of go, right, and Tony Robbins talks about it, and a number of people talk about it, and saying, right, while you're smiling, please be depressed, and you're like, I can't, so it's great.
Yeah, it is. It's a good thing. But also, I'm thinking whenever you do meet, anytime I meet people like that, and it's a blessing to even meet people like that, and it's something that you want for everyone. But they do tend to be really, really good listeners.
Can be.
They can be, yeah, but they generally want to hear other people, or they have a really good message to share. But there's a patience to them, maybe. A calmness, not always.
Yeah, I mean, and again, you go back to being listened to. I mean, the person who is hosting the space, if you like, they need to sort of provide space and just a neutral, open environment, and saying, well, I don't know. I mean, again, I liken it to, I think I talked about this before in terms of like an artist. So if I want, you have a picture, something on your goal list, on your bucket list, and you're saying, right, well, I really wanted to go paddleboarding. Okay, so I've now pictured myself with a paddleboard up in, happens to be Donegal, but I'm sure it's a different location, and I've seen like this color of a paddleboard and all this. But I, as a host, I need to actually go, listen, just create the space. I need to try and paint the best picture so that I can kind of smell it, touch it, taste it, feel it exactly the same as you are. So you keep asking the questions until it's kind of, by asking you the question, it's forced you to go through the checklist process. What would it look like? Well, it's like, well, of course it's a red paddleboard. I was like, oh, okay. Scrub. I had a blue one. Okay.
Yeah, I had a blue one.
Yeah. So
funny, isn't it?
You know, so, and even then, and you got to bear in mind is you've seen a blue paddleboard before because you know what a blue paddleboard looks like. So somewhere in your mind, you pulled it out of the catalog and said, that's a blue paddleboard. And it probably wouldn't be hard to say, when did you last see a blue paddleboard? There'll be somewhere, you
Yeah.
know, you've pulled it out of that category. And it may be that it was on a different beach by somebody. And it may be that actually you thought at that time you were feeling calm, you were sitting on the beach, you were watching them, and you kind of going, I feel calm. So you've associated calmness to paddleboard. Paddleboard looks fun. Person's got a smile on their face. I see them as calmness. I see them as that as fun. So if I project myself onto said paddleboard in this environment, standing here, I will have a smile on my face. That feels good. You know, is it going to feel good? I don't know. Go try. But,
Yeah.
you know, but you see how association is built up there very quickly. And it could be that, you know, one of your kids, or that was a particularly after a great meal that you saw somebody out on this paddleboard or whatever it is. So you had a feel good factor going with, but you associate all these feelings to it. You know, no different to why when people go on holiday, they associate somewhere else and going, I'd love to be back, or I'd love to be sitting on that beach.
Yeah.
You know, that beach could be, I don't know, it could be -20 and awful today. But actually, because you can recall the memories and all the good times, and, you know, it was away from work and it was less stress and all these things. So association is so, so strong. So your bucket list may well be association. It may, you know, being a host of being a good listener allows you then to actually, you know, sort of paint that out. But don't be surprised if the painting changes.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of going, actually, what I really want is X, Y, and Z. And then you kind of going, actually, do you know what? I don't want that at all. What I want is something different.
Yeah.
But I mean, how much have you learned through that process, you know, in terms of we all have a bucket list, and you kind of go, well, why is that? And then you go, actually, do you know what? I don't really want that. What I want is just, I want to have a quiet Saturday night. You know, not, that can be on the bucket list too. The bucket list doesn't have to be, you know, rebuild the wall of China,
All
you
high,
know.
yeah, or all high adrenaline. Yeah, it's all the things that matter most.
Yeah. And it can be something super achievable and just there and just nice. And, you know, I know for me, I kind of like going to the cinema by myself. Bag of popcorn in the afternoons. It feels like a total guilty pleasure.
Oh, it
I sh-
must. A real luxury.
it's like, you know, kids are in school, you know, and even it's kind of going, I have no issues going by myself, big bag of popcorn, so I'm not sharing. I feel like I should be doing something, so I'm
A
not.
real
So
pro.
it's like a stolen time, you know,
Yeah.
and it's awesome. And, but you know, everyone was going, oh no, I really, no, go to cinema by yourself. No, why would you do that? And they want company and they want 50 things. So again, it's just different things. Again, for me, it doesn't really matter what I go see. You know, I really couldn't care. But then you sort of go, right, well, why would that be appealing? So suddenly it's kind of going, right, well, okay, maybe I need to take time out of my day. Maybe there's so much going on that I kind of just want to block. Maybe it is that I need to sort of have that quiet environment, because the cinema does signify quiet, darkness, you know, sort of disconnection. You know, turn off your phones as you go in. So, okay, this is interesting. Turning off your phone, bag of popcorn. So I'm treating myself. That's good.
Yeah.
You know, so self-love, self-care.
And you know you can eat it all.
You can eat it all. You don't have to share. You don't. So, so everyone now wants popcorn, by the way. But
I know,
uh,
yeah.
so even there, I mean, even that, like, it was interesting. The first thing you did is look up. You know, so you're now visiting popcorn. You know, and whether
Oh
it's
yeah, I was
sweet and
there,
salty,
yeah.
you know. So, so yeah, but that's the beauty of it. It's a kind of a really cute way of sneaking in the back door. You know, and the chimp's kind of on board and kind of going, okay, I'll give you a poetic license to go on here, but then you get a chance to wheel your dreams on stage, you know, but then you disassociate. So you look at it from the third person going, okay, paddleboarding in Donegal, let's go. What's this going to mean to me? And then also it's kind of going, is it allowing me to close a chapter? Is it, you know, what's it signifying and all the rest? And I'm not saying do it all to death, but it's, do you know what? Do you not think that maybe that's going to achieve a hell of a lot more than someone going, just do this for 30 days?
Yeah.
You know, and you kind of go, well, but why? Okay, I can do it, and I can go with the flow, and I can be inspired, and I can pick up on your energy and do all this. But when the party's over and the lights come on, you know, are you going to keep dancing? You know, and anyone that has a dream or, you know, knows what they want to do and kind of going, what music? I was dancing anyway. Cool. I screw everyone else. I've got my dream and I'm going. You know, and they create their own energy, they create their own vibe, and they're off and they do their own thing. You know, yeah, fair enough. They need help now and again, and
Well, we all do.
yeah,
But don't you want everyone to have their dream, have it there?
yeah. You know, and I mean, I'll not reveal, but I mean, in terms of yourself, obviously, there's certain things you've reached out to
Yeah.
people, things have happened, you know, and it's amazing because whereas before you kind of go, well, if you hadn't reached out, then they wouldn't have responded.
Yeah.
You know, so chain reaction is suddenly it's now worth more to you, and suddenly you can taste and touch that goal, and you know things are starting to happen in chain reaction, and it's giving off energy, and you've told me, and I'm excited for you, and I'm excited myself, and it's, you know, that chain reaction keeps going.
Well, it's moved from something that was, as you were saying, something that maybe when people start their bucket list, it was almost something that, although it's been there,
Mm-hmm.
it's sort of been, it almost feels like it's been unveiling itself.
Yeah.
But it's something that I couldn't even have verbalized when it started 18 months ago to kind of become a thing.
Yeah.
You know, and it would have been one that I would have had to have been coaxed onto the bucket list at that time. And yet since, you know, you start to meet people, and you see that there may be people you could work with, and that there's something could be done, and you become more confident, don't you? And I love to see that in people, you know, whenever they it's great to feel it for yourself, but also it's lovely to watch in people whenever they start to see that something is possible, that they
Mm-hmm.
can move towards it.
Absolutely. It's anything's possible, you know. Again, if you just check your energy when you're doing it, so you know.
Yeah, but you say that, and I know for you, and I believe it when you say it, but you think how few people
Yeah,
would believe
it's
that.
it. I mean, I would argue that everyone, you know, sitting down could do out a bucket list, and the beauty is it could be completely wrong at the start or completely misguided, but you're going to think of something. You know, we watch TV and you watch somebody jump out of a plane. You might watch somebody on TV going, "I would like to be on TV." You know, and again, the beauty of a bucket list is kind of it's poetic license. You know, bearing in mind the chimp's out of the room. You know,
Yeah.
you sort of throw it a bunch of bananas and tell it to sit quiet in the corner. You know, in its bikini with its badly applied makeup. You know, so it's
What
there.
color is this one? What color is this one with the bikini and the makeup? The creative
Uh,
one's white. What's this one?
it's
I'm seeing
kind of
bright blue.
exactly, and that's the beauty of it. You see what you need to see, and you know,
Yeah.
again by dressing up your chimp, well, you know, suddenly you kind of go, that's the ego, that's the one that keeps me safe. You know, a bit like, you know, a good strong presence in your life. You know, so if your one is blue and it's doing its thing, it's kind of going, it can be angry when it needs to, but the rest of the time it's really good fun to be around. You know, it's my ego and it's there. Now and again, you can have a bit of a joke and go, geez, you reacted a bit badly to that, didn't you? And it's like, hold on, I need to put my makeup on again, you know, so you can take fun of yourself,
Very
you know,
good.
and
I like that image.
that's it, you decompress all these things, you know, going, God, you know, you know, that bucket list, well, I couldn't, you know, I couldn't stand on the stage or I couldn't do this, you know, and it's kind of going, listen, stick on the lippy here. Come on, we'll go for the crack, like, you know, and you know, you're going to look silly for a while, but sure, well, listen, we'll get over it, you
And it's
know.
amazing how people change, because there, when you're saying about we'll stand up on stage and talk, like such a fear for so many
Yeah,
people, Pete,
yeah,
but you'll
yeah.
be right there doing it.
But it's even also, and again, it's disassociation, you know, because so we, you know, quite often when you think, you know, I'm standing on stage and everyone thinks, oh my God, everyone's looking at me and they're assessing me. It's like, well, not being funny, but don't think so much of yourself.
Yeah.
Because everyone in the audience is, you know, they're taking on their 11 million bits of information per second and doing all that. And, you know, actually that was my tummy rumbling. And, you know, I think I just felt my phone vibrate in my pocket and this happened, this happened, this happened. It's, oh God, this guy's still on stage, you know, and he's sitting there going, oh my God, they realize I didn't, I don't know, get my eyebrows cut for this, you know, and they're going,
Yeah, and
what?
I missed that one word out of that sentence. Yeah.
You know, and you're like, really? So, you know, and especially in this sort of world, and we talked about it the last time, but in terms of this sort of media heavy world and all these images and sort of method of communications being applied onto us, you know, there's so much there where you kind of go, do you know what? You know, if you can again disassociate yourself, so imagine yourself on stage and you kind of going, I've got my sort of my pink or my blue, my chimp with me, you know, we're okay, we're good. So even by association, it's kind of going, you know, me, myself, and I, or myself and my chimp are up on stage, and we're just trying to get this across. And
Yeah.
actually, if anything else, it kind of going, well, I can, you know, if something happens, I can have a bit of a laugh, and you know, because my chimp's there and it's bikini and badly applied makeup. Someone go, well, whoops, you know, I tripped coming off the stage, and rather than going, oh my God, I'm so horrified, you're kind of going, God, that's a great start, isn't it? You know,
It's a great story as well from someone who has fallen off a stage at one point. Like, it's always a good story.
well, it is. It's kind of, you know, and then you can deneutralize the situation because everyone in their minds, everyone's sitting with their mental easels going, "Oh my God, if that happened to me." Again, we've all personalized it. If that happened to me, I would be horrified.
Yeah.
So by talking about the chimp or the elephant in the room and says, actually, do you know what? That was a bit embarrassing, wasn't it? Yes, everyone's going, yes, it was a bit embarrassing, and I'm glad it's you, not me, blah, blah, blah. Because again, we've all selfishly taken it back on, we've personalized it to us, we've had our painting, our vision, our goals, our beliefs. Do you know what I mean? So suddenly it's like going, this whole thing of anxiety, it's kind of going, listen, we're all just trying to get through the day and we're trying to do what we want to do with our values, our beliefs, and not upset anyone and do all this, you know. But again, your bucket list is your bucket list, and you have total license to change it every day of the week or every second of the day if you choose. But also, I think if you got to make sure that, again, you're making sure that you're doing it for the reasons that you think you are, and
Yes,
just
that's
asking
the
what
vital
if,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Identifying them, knowing what they are.
yeah, knowing what they are, and I mean the brain is 10 million, 100 million times more capable than we know. You know, science knows a lot, but it doesn't know everything, you know, and it's just unfathomable. Yeah, that is the right word.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. People get spooked by about how much it is, and they sort of go, well, I need to feel solid ground, you know, because there's so much changing in my life. I kind of, you know, is there any reason why when so much is going on, people go into fright state? You know, they go into freeze. You know, no different to a rabbit in the headlights when something's everything's going on. You know, and for some reason, I think of, you know, somebody with kids, and everyone's like, you know, just shut up, just stop.
The
You know,
noise.
as in it's sensory overload, and I can't think. You know, so when you actually, you know, again, providing that space for somebody to be listened to, and you kind of going, well, remove. There's always going to be external, you know, factors going on, but if you remove a lot of the stimulation, and again, just go, right, okay, quiet space. Again, I'm not here to judge. I'm just here almost as, you know, the facilitator to make sure the lights are on and it's a warm, comfortable space for you,
Yeah.
and just talk, you know, and yeah, fair enough. If you say I want to, you know, I want to go and sort of tickle a tiger, let's talk about that. You know, what will that make you feel? It'll make me feel great, you know, and why? And have you ever tickled one before, or does some, you know, where did this come up from? Again, is all association, is it healthy association or an unhealthy association? You know, it's like, well, when I see the tiger, actually what I'm going to do is poke it in the eye because that's what I've always wanted to do because something said. Okay, that's fine. So we've just checked the polarity of the bucket list, you
Yeah.
know, in that particular goal. But very quickly you're going to find a golden thread through all your, you know, the sort of the things are on the top, and it's going to come back to love, connection, value, worth, belief, you know, all those core fundamental things, and you know, is what humans need. You know, we want to be loved, we want to be connected, we want to feel part of the tribe, we want to do all that, you
Yeah.
know, because it could be that I want to jump out of a plane so that I can tell everyone, okay, that's fine, except is that an ego thing? Is again you're trying to, you know, like a pleaser, or you know, it's like look at me as I jump out of
Yeah.
the plane. You know, are you doing it for your reasons? Are you doing it to basically say, you know, look at the 50 things I've achieved? A bit like social media, and you know, we all know it there where people have gone, look at what I had for dinner, look what I did this, here's me accepting this award, here's me doing here, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and
But
you see all the highlights.
you see all the highlights. But you were saying about social media, the kind of like the overload from it. But I suppose one thing we could talk about it, or I would like to hear your take on, is you can quieten that though. You can make choices where you quieten and you think about what you're following and what you're seeing.
You can. I think um, there is a pushback for that, but you got to remember what we're seeing is not necessarily a true reflection either
That's true.
in so many ways.
Yeah.
Because okay, the you know, smarter people, and there's been studies done about the endorphins released on a like. You know, I get a like on a post. You know, well, that little bit of me goes, "Ooh, they liked it. That's nice. Thank you." You know, so it's again that's a connection. You know, there's energy given off by that connection. they've seen what I've put out and they liked it. So therefore, I feel good.
And it resonated with them in some way.
Yeah. Now, so I'm not going to pick on, it could be Facebook, could be anything. I mean, any marketer, any form of communication is, we're potentially doing something so that it reacts a like in you. So it could be that I want to appeal to you in the best way. So any marketer will know. So there's no point in, I don't know, trying to pick something, but I don't know. It's no point in advertising deep sea diving to you. I don't know. Maybe that.
There's not.
So, well, that's the thing. So straight away, but very quickly, the algorithms say, well, actually, this is not for you. So there's no point. It's not. It's a waste of energy. It's a bit like shouting at the moon. Well, it's great, but actually, it just, what happens. So then eventually, after a while, everything learns. People know that actually, Heather really loves talking about books, or talking about, writing, or talking about connecting, or talking about, all this, and Instagram. So very quickly, you've got this view of the world. Well, funny enough, the universe starts to bend to show you all the things that are connected to that, and then you pick them up, and that's what you love and desire, and all the rest. Doesn't mean, it's back to the bear in the woods. Doesn't mean that everything else doesn't exist.
No.
Well, no, it doesn't. But it just means that actually this is what has grabbed our attention. The bear still does what it does in the woods, theoretically. But yet we sort of saying, well, the whole world's changing, isn't it? And he's going, well, is it? Or is it, you're changing the whole world? I don't know.
Very profound.
It is profound,
It is, but it's true.
I know as a kid I used to do it. Do you remember the Truman Show? Jim Carrey.
Oh yes.
So he was basically the child. It was this whole mock mock world, and he
on
was,
the film set. Do you remember us all thinking, "Oh, that will never happen," way before reality TV?
So it's all. But then, I know as a kid, I used to almost do, suddenly I would double back on myself. I'd do something unusual and going, is this universe that I see, is this just a tape rolling? And am I being watched, and everything else is actually happening for me, and it gets a bit deep, So I used to do weird things, like I'm sort of walking one direction going, I'm going to turn around just in case, like I'm going to catch a, sort of.
Did you really?
Yes.
You were going to catch like a space and time or something, or what?
Yes, it's almost like there's a glitch.
There's a glitch. Yeah, that's what that was what I was saying. You were thinking you were gonna. Were you going to walk through the glitch, or what was happening with the glitch?
I don't know. Just to prove or disprove. It was kind of one of those things. Is the universe happening to me, or am I happening to the universe? It's kind of going, okay. I don't know. And again, it was just a weird. But when you watch the likes of that show, and again, we're all self-obsessed, and there's nothing wrong with that. The chimp's favorite subject is the chimp, me, the chimp. So. And if you bear that in mind when you're standing on stage, you're anxious and going, everyone in the audience has at least one chimp, if not more. And they're all going, my favorite subject is me, and anything you say, I'm going to apply to me, and I'm going to paint the picture for me and apply my views, my opinions, my beliefs, my lifetime of experiences onto me. So yes, say what you want, but it's all about me. Thanks very much.
What are you going to do for me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's marketing, that's communication, that's everything, that's life, that's connection, So you connect to people that actually make you feel good, that you feel a connection to. It's all those positive things. It's all those useful, they listen to me, they hear me, they understand me, they encourage me, they do all this, and again, it's all me.
That's not always easy to find, Pete. Sure, it's not. Well, in my experience, I don't think it's always easy to find those people.
Most relationships have at least 3, if not sort of 4 elements. You've got the 2 individual people that aren't necessarily being listened to. You've then got the outside world, social media, friends, all the rest, opinions, all being applied onto each person. And it's almost separate in terms of their views of the world. They're getting their polarized view of the world and what's going on. And then someone else is getting that. So you kind of go in this relationship between 2 people where they may or may not be talking, and they may or may not be listening to each other and actually hearing each other. And then you have all these external views going on as well. And suddenly you're kind of going, how could you possibly have a conversation and actually understand what's going on? Because it's just, everyone is just about, for me, it feels like everyone's just about trying to keep their head above water in terms of going, I hope somebody can hear me, and there's the little voice of, the
Please,
subconscious.
yes.
It is. It's kind of,
Oh,
it's that little thing because, even if you go, God, that's a great idea. And then suddenly someone says, well, that's been done before. Okay, well, poof, it explodes. It doesn't matter. There's whatever, 7.2 billion people on the planet or whatever it is, that actually, most people in a business only need potentially, a coaching business. I mean, if you had 100 clients, I mean, that's 6-7 figure business. That's more than you could ever cope for. And yet we all want to have 5,000 friends on Facebook. We all want to have, 1 million likes. We all want to have this. And it's kind of going, actually, what do you actually need? It's quality over quantity. It's all those adages. But yet we're still sort of searching because, again, this sort of third person in the relationship is social media, and it's a business. You got to bear that in mind. So we want people to be appealed by what we're saying, but we don't necessarily, we just want them, to give us back what we need, the energy, money, time.
Money.
Yeah, money.
It's a great word.
So yeah, so there's loads of stuff there, but so I'm ranting again, but
No, you're not, because I think with social media, there are people do tend to think, that it's that very it's almost diametrically opposed. On the one hand, there's all the opportunities with it for connection, for resonate with people, for sharing time, doing business, and yet there are the rabbit holes, and being exposed to information that you don't need or don't have space for or don't have time for. And I'm interested in terms of the safe space and the conversation. And like, is quietness important for that? What would that look like exactly? I know on the podcast, I see you on the podcast. I know that you very much, you watch you on the Fire in the Belly podcast, putting people at ease. You're taking time to make sure they're comfortable. Do you have tips on that, really? How to do that?
I think it's a tried and tested method. I suppose if you look at where similar environments where that would happen, in terms of space to think, isolation from judgment, just again a positive environment. You can probably look at every church, chapel, place of worship in the land. They're generally quiet environments, no phones, no talking, and is it any wonder that they're large Calvinist spaces typically, that actually gives you plenty of space and air and sort of free of ceilings, and almost, that it is high. So it allows you to have big thoughts, in a spatial sense. That's a great thing. Where else are we listening to? In our sleep. We're actually yeah, so I mean, it literally is. So you kind of go, what do you do there? You provide a dark, warm, quiet environment. There you go. That's where you sleep. So you're actually mentally listening to yourself. You're dreaming. You're all sorts, and it's processing time. If you were going to a counselor or a therapist, we all sort of know the adage of somebody lying on the psychiatrist chair, and sort of thinking about that. And again, it's a reason we're lying down, so we're relaxed. We're not, the psychiatrist is behind us, so we're not judging them or wondering what they're doing. It allows us to sort of focus. The world is also full of, everything from, massage or isolation tanks, or, all these different spaces where it's, again, they're sort of quiet, isolated spaces. They're free of outside distractions. They're, a warm, safe environment. There's no loud noises. And then I would also argue that it has to be somebody that you don't necessarily know. I mean, how many of us have started telling a stranger random things, and we've the words, I don't know why I'm telling you this, come straight out of our mouths,
That happens to me all the time. Honestly, when you sit down, or on a train or at a train station, or somebody just starts opening up. It's so much easier for a lot of people.
Well, there you go. You see, it's easy. So you're sort of saying, well, if you apply that, and how can I make it easy? Which is a great example. You're saying, if I can provide an easy space, and it becomes addictive, because it's slightly, if you're not careful, it can be almost, it's like addiction to counseling or addiction to something else, and kind of if you're enjoying enjoying sort of spreading that message, but actually then you're looking for confirmation from the person who's in the room. I think even that person, the person that's holding the space for you, kind of going to go, their opinion is almost, it needs to be kept neutral in many ways, because unintentionally, if they're sitting with a frown on their face, shaking their head, going, they're applying judgment unintentionally, or vice versa. If you're going, I've just told them that, I wonder if they think any better of me, and the chimp's kind of going, do you see me? Do you see me? Do you like me? Do you think I'm great? So almost as a host, you kind of go, okay, I need you to tell me, is that good or bad? If someone said, I don't know, the cat ran off today. Okay. Again, how do you feel about that? And you kind of go, it's the best thing ever because it wasn't my cat anyway, and it had scabies and blah, blah, blah. So that's a good thing. Or you might go, I am absolutely distraught because it's been with me for 10 years of my life and it knew,
A baby. Yeah.
So all these things. So again, it's trying to keep the space as neutral as possible. I could very easily apply it and go, okay, well, I prefer cats to dogs, and actually that cat when I was a kid scratched me and blah, 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 blah. And again, I'm painting away in my head while you're trying to tell me something. And I'm not listening. I'm painting.
Yeah. I'm off.
My cat, my color in my house, again, me. And again, but it's not, there's no point in saying, oh my God, that's really selfish or really self-centered. It's like, that's who we are. That's kind of, it's preservation. It's, it's success. It's everything in terms of there, but again, if you can hold that space for somebody in terms of as best you can, it gives them a chance to sort of vent it out and put it out there,
I know there is something in allowing somebody to hold that sort of a space for you. I'm sure it's not easy for all of the people who come onto your podcast to talk or to even allow that space to be held.
It can. I think if it's done in a structure, do I listen to my wife in the same way I listen to a guest? Well, not always, and that's me being very honest. Because
it's that thing you schedule time, even in a relationship, schedule time, date night or whatever.
Exactly. It's your ship's passing in the night, and then child needs fed and the dog needs put out and this needs to happen and blah blah blah, and again, needs versus wants versus loves, all those different things. And then you bring money in, and actually you said you were going to do that, and then the washing needs done, and and it's kind of going, well, good luck having a nice clean clear thought without judgment, because I could be sitting here going, God, I'd love to go away for the weekend. And they go, yeah, if we had any money. Okay, bang. Do you know what I mean? The bubble's just gone. Poof.
The bubble's burst. Yeah. Or for the time or the energy. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's all 50 butts, and they're there. I mean, they don't even have to say something. They just need to look at you, or then it might be looking at them reminds you of something else. So it's not a clean space. It's always. It doesn't doesn't have to be on a face or whatever. It can just be a situation. Again, I go back to your paddleboard example, as you've seen that somewhere, you've associated something to that, you've done all that, and this is in a blink of an eye, absolute blink of an eye. And you sort of go, I just want to go paddleboarding. It was a thought I had. Well, no, actually, it's probably made up of millions of pictures, feelings, everything else. And this thought you just had, when you start to look it back and going, oh my God, there's so much attached to this, and everyone goes, just a paddleboard. Is it?
And I know exactly where it started, because I was surfing. I was away surfing, and there were people like paddleboarding, and I remember thinking, God, that looks way more relaxing and fun. I love surfing, don't get me wrong, but I really did, and I wanted to do that. And it was the day that it was up in near Dunfanaghy, I can't remember the name of the beach, and it was so calm. It's quite a wee calm area anyway. It was so calm and it was so relaxed. We were out in the water for 2 hours, Pete, and it genuinely felt like about 45 minutes. It was a shock. Yeah.
And it's funny you say that, because during the interview process, for me anyway, when I'm holding that space, I do say to people, it's like time will lose, you'll lose perception of time, because we're kind of timelining. It's weird in that, quite often say to people, generally we hold the space for about 2 hours, and a lot of people freak out and they go, what am I going to talk about for 2 hours? until you
Right.
start talking, and you generally get to the end and they're kind of going, that was about an hour, right? It's like, that was 2 hours, because you just lose it. So, exactly what you just said with, in terms of, the surfing and being out there, is because, the space has been changed in terms of it's an open environment. Suddenly it's there, it's open, it's non-judgmental. So the perception of time, you're sitting in your own thoughts, your own head, what's going on around you. It's there. So suddenly you're going, I don't know whether, my phone's not ringing. I'm not rushing off to do this. So I actually don't know what's now suddenly it gets to different space. But then, like, flip side, if something happens, like when you come to an accident or something happens, well, then actually time feels like it extends. And I think we talked about this before, whereby it's slow motion. You suddenly have what will be 5 seconds is like a lifetime. People talk about that.
Yeah.
In a split second, I saw my entire life. And you kind of go, yeah, it's like 1 second, not even a millisecond. But yet time and space and everything else just changes, where you just, vice versa, when you're surfing, you said there, it could be 2 hours and it felt like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But that's because, everything and all the external stimulus has changed, and suddenly the brain has just relaxed and calmed down, and the processing speed. And then humans and water, we love water.
Yeah.
And it's floating on it. It's there. Again, it's free flowing. It's just, just people that are far more spiritual than us will tell you a lot more about that, but in terms of our body content of water, and being at water, or being close to water, or on the water's edge, and all those analogies. But
yeah
so losing sense of time is a key thing too.
So they're really sort of in the zone.
It is in zone. Yeah, people get into flow. They get into, and that is the flow of what they really want. Again, it's a safe space, so it can be a bit off the wall, and you've no one. After a while, left to our own devices, we start coming out with some weird and wacky stuff, which is great. It makes total sense to us, because nobody has, a bit like a kid that's dreaming, and you sort of unintentionally, after a while, you kind of go, well, that's all well and good, but that's not real life, is it? And suddenly you've grounded the child. You've taken them back down from the dream, or we wake up out of a dream. We don't, we can't keep living in that space. Whereas if you allow people to go on there, not that we don't know it's a dream or anything else, it's just simply that actually our mind is allowed to drift and wander for a bit longer. And it's lovely. It's time's different. It's more relaxing. It's more, it feels better, and again, even the power of being listened to, it could be simple, the fact of going for a walk, and that's allowing us to listen to ourselves by cutting out the external stimuli, and just being sort of in nature, and, giving yourself a dedicated time and space, Why do people love dogs? Dogs don't talk back. They're positive. They're there. Dogs are. It's amazing. Man's best friend. Or woman's best friend, doesn't matter. But isn't it amazing the fact that we love to talk to dogs, and we dogs, cats, whatever your preference. But is it the fact that they can't talk back? They can sit and they can smile and they can wag your tail, and it's kind of going, that's all I needed.
Yeah.
I needed something with a pulse and a wagging tail.
And it made me go for a walk. Yeah.
And they want to take you to this open space. It's like any wonder we like to do it. They take us into a space where we can think more, and that's their pleasure environment, and they're very visual in that, and their big doggy smile and waggy tail and all the rest, and they're happy and elated and all the rest, and don't judge us. I don't often see a depressed dog, and a dog that sort of says, well, you didn't take me for a walk last Tuesday. They're present. They're kind of going, you're taking me for a walk now. I am delighted.
Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah. It is. It's non-judgmental. There you go. Be more dog.
Be more dog. Thanks, Pete. Good. That's a good message to end it on.
Bit of a rant, but yes.
No, not a rant at all. I really enjoyed that. A lot of information in it, a lot of things that I'm going to take away. I'm certainly going to do my bucket list. You've inspired me. I'm going to sit quietly, have goals and everything, but I'm going to sit and do my bucket list. and treating it like a goal. Get into the
Yeah.
freedom of it first. Um,
I think you keep it far enough out, a bit like a kite, keep it a long distance, because then that sort of keeps it out of reach of reality, and that's fine. And then as you start to draw it back in, just sense check, is this what I really want? And then, okay, and whatever it is, then you sort of go, well, what one thing could I do? Well, that suddenly then brings it into, not now, but it brings it into a sort of a certain amount of time. And then, like I say, that's very subtly sort of sliding it under the nose of the chimp.
Love it. Actually do. Love it. And I will be left forever with the image of your chimp in lipstick and bikini. Yeah, thank you for that.
I'll put it out there.
Thank you, Pete. Good to talk to you.
Thank you.